Hey guys, I hope you're all well and staying blessed. In today's video, I'm going to be speaking about the importance of believing in your system as a trader. And before I get into this video, I just want to say if you hear lawn mowing, cars going past, it is sunny here in the UK and we don't get sun often, so my windows are open, the breeze is coming through, and yeah, hopefully we don't get interrupted, but just a heads up. So if you're a bit confused of like what is believing in your system, in other words, it is your trading strategy, your trading plan. This is super important within your normal routine, your everyday routine, to believing in your system, but most importantly as a trader, because without that system, you will not be able to make good profits in the market and be successful. I always wonder, like, how can people that don't have a strategy execute a trade? Because 9 times out of 10, if you're executing a trade that has no strategy, you most likely will lose because you're just gambling at this point. You're just placing a trade and hoping that the odds are in your favor. If you're doing this, this means you're actually chasing the money and you don't have a proper system. Now, if you want to trade like the banks, like people that are making hundreds of thousands in the market, people that are actually, they've got their head screwed on, you need to have a system in place. And one thing I will say is always have your own personal capital when it comes to trading. But one thing I would say is trading prop firms are really great at helping you understand like your strategy and your system and helping you to stick to it as well. Like these risk factors they have in place, these daily drawdowns, these overall drawdowns, they're going to help you to create and build your system and actually be consistent and stick to it. Because when you have your own personal account, it's very easy to just leave a trade on and then keep moving your stop loss, and before you know it, you're 50% in drawdown, and then you're in 80% drawdown, and then you've blown the count. And trust me, I have been there and done that. So always look at the pros and the cons as to personal and to funding accounts, and just be really mindful. But yeah, just really utilize prop firms for what they're good for. My cat's now going to the toilet. We love this on this channel. We keep it real. Bro, I'm not swearing, I swear. I swear I'm not swearing. I have a broken finger now. My cat is going to the toilet. We gotta love it. A lot of people go wrong because they strategy hop. You need to, as a trader, find a strategy that works for you and stick to it. Because why would you change your strategy if you're profitable? If you're profitable, why are you now adding different things in and trying to change things? Just keep it very basic and simple and something that's very easy for you to understand. For example, things that I look for when I'm trading is I'm trading purely price action, support and resistance, trend lines, the candle patterns and the closures. And I'm literally just looking to see where price reacts from these points of importance. And then I'll have confluences as well, like mini trend line breaks, break and retests. I'll be looking for things like rejection candles. I'll be looking at Fibonacci rejections. They are things that are going to help me execute an A-star setup in the market. And then I go on to looking at Forex Factory, seeing what news is coming out for the day and for the week. Because if there's a news event coming out at 7 a.m, I'm not going to be trading within an hour or two. And for me, I trade GJ, so sometimes I get in around 6 to 7 a.m, and then I just literally let London Open push that trade in the direction that I've placed my trade in. And then with like GU and EU, for example, if I'm doing like an intraday trade and I'm trading from like London Open and I'm leaving it on to at least like New York close or something, I wouldn't just leave that trade and not be mindful if there's a news event, because we know for New York session, all of the US announcements are always around 1:30. That's most likely the time that a news event will come out. So I'm always looking and being mindful of the times that I'm trading, and I'm making sure that it fits in with my trading plan. How do you find a system? Now, I can't tell you how to find a system. You have to find a system that works for you. But I will give you some tips, and my number one tip is you need to trial this system that you are learning. Whether you're learning a strategy from someone's course that you've paid for, someone you've learned on YouTube, or even you're just trying to figure out what support and resistance is and you're trying to trade from support and resistance, just make sure you test this strategy over and over and over again and see like your winning rate. Do you have like over a 40% winning rate? Because if you do, then you know you do have a good strategy. And then why would you go and look for a new one? And then you need to stick to your strategy. Stop the strategy hopping. Stop trying to be like, okay, I found support and resistance, it works for me. Oh, but Thomas over there is making 100k a week on ICT. So now I'm going to trade ICT. Like, what are you doing? You don't need to go and like copy people. You really need to just focus on yourself, because everyone's lanes and everyone's journeys are different. You never know. Thomas might have been sitting there back testing for ICT for the past 2 years. You've just come in this in one day. You're not going to make 100k like Thomas. Like, you need to be mindful. You might be someone that wants to trade fundamentals, that wants to trade price action, that wants to trade Fibonacci retracement, pure trend lines, candlestick closures or patterns. Whatever it is that you want to do, make sure you keep retesting this strategy, and you make sure you stick to it. Form your own market ideology. Literally gather data from this strategy that you're creating, and make sure that you're like, okay, you're writing these things down. You're screenshotting all these charts that you may have back tested, or the real life market conditions, and you've put your stop loss and your take profit. Make sure you're screenshotting how that trade has finished off, whether you hit stop loss or whether you hit take profit. And then go back every day and every week. Make sure you go back over this data that you've collected and figure out if it's something in your strategy that might not be working. Maybe your stop loss is way too tight. Maybe you've realized that GU always pushes just below the last low, and then it literally will zoom into your direction. Whatever it is that you can figure out within collecting your data, make sure you write it down, and then you start to practice the data that you've collected, and only collect your data. Make sure you're not just copying someone else's trades. Make sure you're not just like picking up information and just like throwing it. Make sure you're testing it out before you're just throwing in thousands and thousands of pounds into the market. Make sure you select a market for your strategy. Try not to look at like 9 to 10 pairs. Try to maybe look at 1 to 2, especially if you're new. I look at 2 to 3. I look at EU, GU, and GJ. And if you don't know, that's Euro USD, GBP USD, and GBP JPY. I'll look at the DXY and the Japanese futures for like confluence. And I'll also look at maybe EJ, UJ for confluences to different pairs. A lot of pairs actually correlate negatively or positively. And these are things that you will learn as you go along. And these are just things that's going to help you have a better execution in the market. And again, you make sure you stick to your strategy and you're not hopping around, and you're really collecting your data. And the reason you want to boil it down to just a few pairs or whatever it is that you're trading, you want to just stick to maybe 1 to 2, is because you want to really learn how this pair moves. Because then your strategy, you'll know that, like maybe with GU, I know this from my own data collection, and this is like a tip for you guys. And again, if whatever I say, I don't sell a course. I am not an educator. I just want to give you guys good content and good quality information and knowledge, and I hope you guys can implement this into your data. And then you obviously make sure you do your own research. Don't just take what I've said and then listen to me. I know that GJ is way more volatile than EU, for example. EU is a lot more slower. EU also like nicely fluctuates, whereas GJ might have a really harsh wick and then go right in my direction. So I know that with GJ, I have to be mindful of my execution. I have to maybe have a bit more of a wider stop loss. And I also know that some of the candles can be fake outs. So when you actually learn about the market you're trading, you're now going to know your strategy may be slightly changed. And when I say slightly, I'm not saying have a completely different strategy, like trade support and resistance for this one and trend lines for this one. I mean, if that works for you, then great. But what I mean is maybe you just have an extra 2 or 3 pips breathing room in your stop loss. Or maybe with your trend line, you know that EU completely sticks to that trend line, whereas GJ might wick through that trend line and then literally bounce off of it and reject. So just really figure out what works for you and your data. And this is just me, what works for me. And I'm not saying these are like guaranteed things. Everything I've said is guaranteed things. But I mean, like, make sure it works for you before you just go and put that on your charts and start like putting money in the markets. Then you need to make sure you pick a time frame to trade. Don't be looking at a 4-hour and expecting within 5 minutes a candle to make a 4-hour candle. Are you insane? Like what? Sorry, no. It's just not possible. So if you want to be like a scalper, I would say look at maybe 1 minute to 1 minute, 5 minute, 15 max. Intraday, you're looking at 5, 15, and then you're looking at like overall the 1 hour and the 4 hour, I would say. I also now add 30 minutes. It's like my favorite time frame. And then like swing trading is anything from 4 hour and above. Just make sure that you are sticking to your time frame and you are very mindful that each candle that is formed within that time frame is going to represent that candle. If you're on a 5-minute time frame, one candle will represent 5 minutes, and you need to be mindful of that. And also make sure you're knowing the session that you're trading on. If you're trading like a London pair, for example, the pound, GBP, USD, you want to trade that in London or New York session. So make sure you're really figuring out what sessions work for you in your pair. Another good one, this is a tip, a lot of prop firms, actually the swaps are a lot higher on a Wednesday. I don't actually know like the reason, I don't actually know the reason for this, but I actually saw it in a podcast. That's a little tip for you guys. Sunday nights I don't get into trades because again, the fees are insane and you would just be down like double what your trade is. So just try and stay away from the charts until like Monday London open if you can. And don't leave your trades on weekends unless you're a swing trader. Like sometimes I do. Do you mind? Sometimes I do, but I really try not to. Again, this is your strategy, so what works for me and what don't work for me, it might be completely different for you. I'm just giving you guys like a little insight into me and how I trade and giving you some tips, and hopefully you can figure out whether it works for you, whether it don't. Maybe you completely disagree with me. Maybe you don't like this video, but if you don't like this video, I don't know why you're watching. But you know, just make sure you're always gathering your own data and you're doing your own testing before you just implement anything onto the charts and you put your money into risk. And then you should, as I would say, like set an objective before you get in a trade. Like, what is your objective? Where are you aiming for price to reach? And when price reaches there, what are you aiming for price to do? Are you looking for it to break and retest? Are you looking for it to reverse, to reject? What is it that price is going to do when it's hit your take profit? And why have you put your stop loss on your take profit? Have an overall objective. Another thing you want to do as well is maybe just give yourself some affirmations and just really believe in your system. Maybe say some things of like good words. Like, I am so grateful to have my Wi-Fi to be able to trade. I am blessed and in alignment with my pair. I believe in my system. I am a profitable trader. Saying positive affirmations are going to help you have a better mindset and be less fearful when it comes to placing that trade. Make sure you're defining your risk level. Make sure that if you're trading personal accounts, that you're not, again, like I said at the start, risking like 50% of your account on one trade. One thing that's really good with prop firms, again, is that they have these daily drawdowns and these overall drawdowns that if you hit, you will blow your challenge. But what it does is actually helps you to better your system and actually learn how to have better risk management. Maybe you want to risk 0.2% on one trade. Maybe you want to risk 0.5%. Maybe you want to risk 1%. Whatever it is that works for you, and be mindful that on everyone's accounts, it's going to be completely different. 2% to someone with 100k is going to be different to 2% with someone on a 10k. So just be mindful of that and like stop comparing yourself to others. Something that really helped me is my strategy, my system. I have everything written down, and before I go to place a trade, I read over my strategy, and then I'm like, okay, do I have 2 to 3 confluences to get in this trade? Do I have a candlestick closure on the 4 hour? Am I trading in my time frame? All these questions that are going to help you better your strategy. Make sure you read over them either every morning or before every trade, just to help you really define that system that you have. And remember, they're not just rules to your strategy, they're also rules to yourself, because when you're trading for self, it's very easy to just start gambling and start revenge trading. But you want to remember to approach this trading thing like a business. And if you haven't, go and watched Treating Trading Like a Business on my channel, because it's a really good video just to help you better your system to treat and trading like a business. But yes, this is just a small number of things that are like little tips and little things that you can do. But remember, overall, this is your system, this is your strategy, and no matter what anyone says, it has to work for you. I don't know what you do every day. I don't know if you work a 9 to 5. I don't know if you do night shifts. I don't know if you have children. I don't know what you do. So whatever I advise you, it's only advice, and it's only like a little couple of tips, but you have to really define what works for you. Now, why is this important? You might think, why do you even care? Like, why is a system important? Well, you need a system because a system's going to have a great advantage on actually helping you manage a trade better, helping you believe in that trade. When you place that trade, just really knowing that, my cats are chasing a fly right now, sorry. Really just believing that price is going to reach or take profit as long as you have a realistic approach to the market. Making sure that when you place your trade and you have maybe a 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 risk to reward ratio, whatever it is that works for you, you've placed that trade and you are not fearful. Now you've seen a little bit of money. Maybe you want to take partials or move your stop loss, but don't completely close your trade. You place that trade, you have that strategy in place. Why are you not sticking to your strategy? It's going to help you to manage your risk better. And it's going to help you to be able to gain more profitability in the market, to not be fearful and get FOMO. A lot of people get FOMO, the fear of missing out. You have your trade ready to go, you look away for 2 seconds, you go to the toilet, you come back, and price has hit TP. And they get that fear of missing out. They now jump in and they're doing like a 1-to-1 trade. Whatever it is that works for you. If that works for you, great. But for me, it's not going to work. Why am I risking the same as I'm trying to reward myself with? I'm always trying to give myself a higher reward than what I'm risking. And I'm not going to chase the markets. If I miss a move, I miss a move and I'm cool with it. But risk only what you can afford. If you can only afford to risk 0.5% per trade or 1% per trade, make sure you're sticking to that. If you're only trying to risk $50 or £50 per trade, make sure you're sticking to that. And make sure you're literally calculating how many pips, how many lots, how much money you're risking to lose to win. And really stick to it. And overall, it's going to help you to gain confidence, not just within self, but within your strategy. And that's what we're here for. We want a strategy that we can speak to people and be like, well, I've got a great strategy and it works for me and I have a 70% average win rate and yeah, I love it. That is what you want. You want confidence. If anyone tries to have a conversation with you, you're so like, yep, I trade just support and resistance. I wait for the break and retest, or I wait for a rejection candlestick closure, and I get into the market. When you know what you're talking about and you have that confidence, your trading is going to excel. And before I close out this video, I just want to say, when having this system, make sure you're sticking to it, because like a professional trader, they have all the information they need and they really gather this data and make sure that the system they're using is going to be benefiting them in the long run. They're not just going to be entering trades and gambling the markets. They're going to be approaching this like a business. So make sure you're doing that when it comes to your trading. I'm going to close this video with an affirmation, and the affirmation for today's video is, I believe in my system and I stick to it every time I place a trade. Like always, guys, please like, comment and share this video if you feel like it could help a friend, and make sure you comment if you like this video and comment some more videos you would like to see. I know everyone's dying to see some chart videos and they are coming. And the main reason I'm not doing chart videos right now is because everyone and their nan is doing chart videos on YouTube. I want to bring you guys the core information, the mindset. And if you can listen to me talk and pick up all these tips and knowledge from my videos, when it comes to the charts, you're going to be learning a lot, okay? So yeah, comment below any videos you'd like to see, anything that you think may help you, please comment it and let me know if you like this video. Peace and love like always, take care.